Hello, hockey fans of all ages, shapes, and sizes. I want to talk about goals for today. Um, they're hard to come by. So, if you look at David Pasternak, aka Pasta, he got 61 goals, and Austin Matthews got 60 goals, and they're in the top 35 of all time. So, if you're looking at goals for, it may not be as impressive to see, 40 goals or 45 goals, but those guys, you're looking at being like the top 600 players of all time in the last like 50 years of play in the NHL, where statistics kind of become a little bit more popular. So, um, yeah, so Austin Matthews is a goal machine. If he gets anywhere near a goal per game type of output, which he's kind of a little bit lagging behind, but he's already had a couple hat tricks this year, so he could quickly get on pace again to the guys. Like his snipe against San Jose the other night was like top corner, like unbelievable shot from that angle. Um, Unbelievable release. So yeah, I think Matthews, I'm still sort of looking at the 50 and 50 is a possibility. And so I want to say too that goal differential, like the Sharks are minus 90, and I looked at the Pens goal differential, it's 15 plus. So what that means for those who don't know is goals for versus goals against, your differential there. So as a team, and as far as I know, there hasn't been any teams with a negative goal differential ever win the Stanley Cup. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but yeah, that's a huge stat when you look at overall. And I remember the Sharks squeaking in one year, and they had a negative goal differential. And looking at that stat, like many moons ago, when the Sharks were still competitive. Sorry, boys. Anyways, I want to say that looking at the Pens, I got a hot take for you that I think they'll potentially be in second place above the Canes here shortly. So, unfortunately for the Sharks, they have their first round draft pick this year from the Carlson trade, and that'll go from maybe like around 13 to 15th place as their kind of basement dwelling right now. And they're not very many points behind either. I looked at their goals differential and their streak that they're on. The Canes are on a pretty good run as well too. So either team may slow down, but I do believe here shortly that probably before the All-Star break is my guess that the Pens are in second in the Metro. So there's my hot take. Yeah, and this Willie Nylander thing, I know the media coverage has been exhaustive, but it's a monster deal, right? He's got 92 million, and the Sharks' dreams of putting a package together at the deadline, I think, are slim to none now. It looks like, at least, I always kind of dreamed of a sign and trade but this full new no move. I guess no move is important for like a two-way thing, like sending a guy back to the minors and stuff. Obviously that's ridiculous when you talk about Nylander, but that's no move clauses are sort of important for that. The no trade clause, I'm not sure if it's modified or not, but even Carlson I believe he had a 3-team or some 4-team modified no trade clause. And I'm not sure what Nylander's looks like, but I did want to touch on that. The Leafs have, I want to say, like an embarrassment of riches um, at the core four. Like you look at, Marner's salary, and he's like 100K less. If he was 100K more, he'd be in 11 million with like Doughty and Dahlin and stuff. And the Leafs have four, in that case, if he was tied for 11 mil, I believe the Leafs would have 4 out of 8. So like the Leafs would have 50% of the top paid guys in the NHL, like 4 out of 8 in that case, if Marner's was 100K more. So it's kind of insane when you really step back and see that, I think if you've watched some of my other episodes, I'm definitely putting the Leafs at my favorite to win the cup this year. Like, and it was really nice to see like William Nylander's become a superstar, I think, over in Sweden and stuff. And the TTC, he's going to get his ads, and he's a decent looking gentleman, pretty buff. Like I was laughing at Kipper and Bourne there. They asked him about his wearing his t-shirt on the Swedish show, and Nylander just kind of laughed. Like, the guy's so cool. He just laughs at everything, and just nonchalant. And like he said, he's just playing hockey. And I did like that he said, this is where I want to win, because now he's putting together his legacy for the Leafs, right? I don't know what this means for Marner. I mean, you look at guys like Draisaitl and Elias Pettersson of Vancouver. They're going to want all that pasta money, right? And pasta meaning David Pasternak. So it's like when you have goals for, like a Timo Meier had 40 goals for, and I think he had 5 in one game the one year against LA. It's hard to come by. So when you have a bona fide scorer, these teams like will pay to the nose to keep them. So that's why Austin Matthews is the highest AAV in the league right now, over everybody. And the Leafs have such an embarrassment of riches. So I was looking at, just to say that, like, I was looking at a comparable for Tavares, I guess, as a retirement contract for the Leafs in a couple years here. I believe truly that he'll fall in line with like a Pavelski. I know they're lefty-righty shot, but Pavs was always, a good playmaker and not too fast. Like, Tavares is kind of slow, but he's got really, really high hockey IQ, which Pavelski is kind of the best comparable for me. So I was looking at Pav's last contracts with Dallas when, unfortunately, when San Jose, they brought on Carlson with, the high cap at the time, percentage, they lost Pavelski, and Pavelski got $1 million raise going to Dallas. So he was making $6 million. And I think the Sharks were kind of thinking, yeah, if we can grab him for like 4.5, 5. And, there was a lot of doubt for a guy like Pavelski in his mid-30s, right? Like, can he still continue to score at a clip? And, you saw what he did in that playoffs. I think, did he get a hat trick or something? Or maybe even like 4 goals? Or I think that happened last year, actually. It was completely insane, like batshit insane. So like Pavelski, and I think Tavares has those big moments in him. So I would say, like, I'm not advocating in any way, like, the Leafs can win the cup without him. Because I think, like, the goal against Tampa Bay, right, to get him to the next round in OT, I think Tavares, and even watching him coming up in the World Juniors, he was a goal-scoring machine, and he's become more of a playmaker and kind of a second-line center because of his speed. And stuff like that, right? And you got dynamic guys and faster guys in Marner and Matthews, etc., for the top line, and Nyzy and stuff like that, right? So anyway, the comparable, I believe, Pavelski got a 3-year, $7 million, and I think that's probably where Tavares will go. Probably like he'll be 33, I believe. So if you give him a 2 to 3 year deal at $7 million, and then he'll probably fall around 5.5 after that. And then I believe this one was weird. I was looking it up. There's a performance bonus for like $1 million after 10 games and $1 million after 20 games. So his teammates are like eyeing up the calendar, like, all right, Tavares is team meal on the 10th game and on the 20th game. Anyways, like for Pavs, I guess, sorry, I should have said, but yeah, so Pavs has like a 3.5 mil, plus a $2 million performance bonus. So I'm not sure how that counts towards the cap in the AAV. It could be a clever thing, like what they did with Martin Jones's contract with that performance bonus, right? Because, if Pavs is playing, basically they said, if you're sitting out, you're not going to make this money, but if you play 10 games and then 20 games for us, we know you're probably playing the season and you're not injured, and you get your performance bonuses. So, what else did I want to talk about? Yeah, just in general, I wanted to say, if this darn war in Ukraine would ever end, maybe we'll get a best on best I'd love to see the Ruskies back in the mix. I think Canada and Russia have a lot in common with our hockey heritage, our cold ass weather, and stuff like that. So I don't know why we're fighting over there still. It's almost ridiculous at this point. So maybe at some point here in the future we'll have a best on best, and we can get like Crosby as the captain of the team, most likely, with McDavid as an alternate or whatever. Get those two guys to play together in Canada, and I'm really excited to see this. There's so many great players coming out of the United States, and their goaltending system, etc. So I think that would be a fantastic series. And I've heard some other guys comment, like, I'd love to see, like, I think it was Sammy on Kipper and Bourne. He's like, I'd love to see a 7-game series, US versus Canada over here, like kind of like a summit series that they did in the 70s with Gretz and stuff like that. Or wait, no, that was before his era. I believe, yeah, the Summit series was Canada Russia. Yeah, so kind of like a North American series, and then like I like the idea of like a Finland Sweden. Granny from the Sharks is a Finnish guy, and the Swedes have tons of great players. I believe Pedersen is a Swede, etc. So and Hedman and all these guys, and Carlson. So that'd be a light 'em up kind of series over there in Europe, potentially, and maybe they could like. So and this is my comment about that too, right? I look at Willie Nylander's, kind of meteoric rise to the top as a bona fide superstar. And I look at, the regular season is for us being like, commentators, podcasters, fans, even the GMs and stuff. Like the regular season is for them, and the playoffs are for you. So when you get to do a best on best at the Olympics or like a World Cup or something like that, where there's a best on best, it doesn't necessarily have to be the Olympics in my opinion, because I think the Olympics is good to spotlight amateur, like people who aren't professionally played. Put your best amateur people together for an Olympic team, right? It's a different kind of animal, since all the others are amateurs, I believe. I don't know, maybe there's some other pros, but yeah, so the playoffs are for you as a player, for your ego, your pride, your legacy. They always say the Stanley Cup is one of the hardest trophies to win in the league, in any league, in professional sports. So I would say that, yeah, like Shanny, the Leafs management, having this embarrassment of riches, Leaf Sports Entertainment, etc., they've got a team really that will probably make the playoffs for the next 10, 15 years, right? So I guess, maybe not that long, right? Like you look at some of these contracts that'll tail off here as Tavares gets older, etc. So yeah, maybe they'll be dominant for 15 years. Maybe like the last 7, the next 8, Willie Nylander era. Then what happens after that, right? They could go into full rebuild like the Sharks. And the last point here is Cutter Gauthier. So I've never seen a team like go full PR, like destroy a human like this since Eric Lindros. And the irony was, I guess, there was some allegations of like sexual harassment or something that Lindros didn't like, apparently, that came out like later. That's why he didn't want to go to Quebec, or something like that. And he went to Philly, and now Philly has the polar opposite happening to them with Gauthier. So it'd be really interesting to find his reason. I liked Friedge's commentary on this potentially being an ELC issue. Now, do you have to court some of these younger players like Logan Cooley? I remember last summer hearing stuff like, I don't really want to sign. And you saw like, oh my God, the Coyotes' best player there, Clayton Keller. You heard rumblings like, does he want to get traded? That's why I did all my speculation in the summer on if Austin Matthews doesn't want to sign, like, or the Leafs can't keep him based on salary cap constraints. I don't even know how the Leafs are pulling this together. Like, I think something's got to give and break. and they're going to have to play hardball with Marner or Tavares, I think, at some point. So, already said Tavares, I think, is going to be at 7 mil. That'll be 4 mil relief. The cap will go up. Marner's going to want to get that past the money. So I don't know. Anyways, back to the Cutter Gauthier thing. It appears to me that looking at social media and some other podcasters just trying to piece it together from the great, research that people have done, it looks like between March and May, something happened with Philadelphia. Now, it's going to be kind of like the Corey Perry situation where, like, we may never know what happened. And I had a source that kind of told me some stuff and I believe them. And, something may eventually be a statement by Gauthier's camp. I love that name too, Cutter. Pretty based parents. Anyways, we'll see what happens with him. He's going to get booed and probably in fights and stuff in the Broad Street bullies. But whatever. If he didn't want to play there for a certain reason, nobody will understand. And what did Arizona do to court Logan Cooley? They might have heard rumblings like that in the summer, like he doesn't want to sign there. They go out and acquire a whole bunch of guys like Kerfoot, etc., and Bukestad and all these other guys, and their teams, like, not a powerhouse, but they're like kind of legit 4 lines up and comer type team, etc. So I think it'll be interesting to see if this will put the wind out of the sails of Philly with all the distractions. Like, look at the distractions in Ottawa and what it did to their franchise this year. They're a complete mess. And I kind of thought they would be one of the ones like a Sabres or a Red Wings that would come up. And it looks like the Red Wings have kind of come up the fastest. And just the last thing to putting a bookend on this episode, or whatever you want to call it. The young stars I witnessed in Penticton, BC. I saw some of the teams. I was working, bartending that, and in between some of the games, etc. After our counts are done, in between some housekeeping stuff that I have to do, I was able to check out some of the games, and Vancouver's farm system was so impressive. And if there's anything that I look at the Sharks or the Habs and some of these teams with like really impressive farm systems coming up, you can kind of tell when their team is gonna pop and be back in the running, and it will seem like a surprise for a lot of the other commentators, announcers, etc. So I would say pay close attention to some of these early tournaments, like the Young Stars, which had I saw Colby Barlow and Chaz Lucius and some of these other guys for the Jets, and they're looking good. And they made that big PLD trade in the summer, which is paying off dividends. It doesn't look great for the Kings. And I guess the final thing I'll say is go Leafs go. It's really sad to see like the Sharks are on the biggest skid, but the Leafs just dusted them the other night, and they look really good. They look like a team that is playoff ready, serious. I really believe, and I said this to people in the summer, I believe they're going to win, but that's all hearsay. It's like witnessing what they're doing now and how they're coming together and gelling. I really feel like they're a team. After that crazy incident in Boston, it looks like they've come together in the locker room, etc., and they're standing up for each other, which is a beautiful thing to see as a Canadian, from a small town where there's always bar fights and stuff like that. So go Leafs go, and we'll see what's up with the Sharks here shortly. Anyways, peace.